South Caucasus remains under close international scrutiny. After decades of conflict, Armenia and Azerbaijan are moving toward the conclusion of a comprehensive peace agreement. Reopening talks on transport links, regional connectivity, and economic integration, with active diplomatic engagement from Washington. At this fragile stage of transition, any legal or political intervention from abroad carries significant consequences. In recent months, pressure has intensified and begun to emerge simultaneously from multiple centers of influence that, on the surface, appear unrelated. The International Bar Association's Human Rights Institute, together with the UK's All-Party Parliamentary Group on International Law, Justice and Accountability, and the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Armenia, has launched what it calls the Nagorno-Karabakh Inquiry. Announced in late 2025, the initiative examines allegations regarding Armenian cultural heritage since 2023, when Azerbaijan restored its sovereignty over the territory and ended the decades-long unrecognized separatist regime. A call for written submissions was issued, followed by hearings in Westminster. The cross-party panel is chaired by Brendan O'Hara and includes Baroness Helena Kennedy KC, Lord Alton, Baroness Hooper, as well as John Whittingdale, Lord McInnes, and Jessica Morden, who are members of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Armenia. The process is supported by IBA-HRI Programme Coordinator Anya MacDonald, who acts as part of the initiative's secretariat.
I have actually been to Nagorno-Karabakh.
It is also notable that one of the panel members, John Whittingdale, previously travelled to Karabakh during the period when the territory was under Armenian control. During and after that period, he made public statements in open support of the separatist regime controlling Karabakh at the time. At first glance, this may appear to be a continuation of long-standing Armenian lobbying efforts, which for years have shaped international narratives about the South Caucasus, often portraying Azerbaijan as the aggressor, while downplaying or reframing Armenia's period of occupation of internationally recognized Azerbaijani territories. But the situation is more complex than it seems. The parliamentary initiative unfolds at a time when both the United Kingdom's official position and Armenia's own government publicly support normalization between Baku and Yerevan. What is striking is that similar narratives are now being voiced in two very different capitals, London and Moscow, that remain in open confrontation following Russia's war against Ukraine. In Moscow, rhetoric framing events around alleged ethnic cleansing of Armenians, cultural eradication, and civilizational loss has circulated for years. Today, comparable formulations are increasingly heard in parts of the British parliamentary debate and reflected in coverage by major international media outlets. Financial influence appears central, linked to networks surrounding Russian-Armenian billionaire Ruben Vardanyan, who was arrested and later sentenced to 20 years in prison by a military court in Baku on charges including terrorism, financing terrorism, and creating illegal armed formations. Ruben Vardanyan was born in Armenia and moved to Russia, where he built his fortune in the early 1990s. He founded and headed the Moscow-based investment company Troika Dialog. In 2019, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project linked Troika Dialog to the offshore network known as the Troika Laundromat, through which billions of dollars were allegedly transferred. In 2022, Vardanyan renounced his Russian citizenship and moved to Karabakh, then under Armenian separatist control, becoming state minister of the self-declared administration. After Azerbaijan restored control in 2023, he was detained along with other members of the former separatist leadership. Though now in prison, the resources and connections he built over decades remain active, mobilized by supporters and others seeking to challenge the fragile peace process in the South Caucasus. Financial disclosures show that in 2009, funds from structures later scrutinized in investigations were directed to a charitable initiative linked to the then Prince of Wales, supporting the restoration of Dumfries House in Scotland. In subsequent years, Vardanyan maintained visibility within prominent British circles, attending high-profile events and cultivating relationships that signalled access to segments of the UK establishment. Armen Sarkisyan, former Armenian ambassador to the United Kingdom and later president of Armenia, has operated at the intersection of Armenian political interests and British elite networks. His documented links to Ruben Vardanyan include joint involvement in philanthropic initiatives connected to the Yerevan My Love Foundation, established by Sarkisyan. In May 2013, the then Prince of Wales visited Armenia as a guest of that initiative, reflecting the foundation's access to senior British circles. During the same period, Sarkisyan held a leadership role at Lydian International, a UK-registered company developing the AnewZ gold project in Armenia, which became a subject of political and public debate. Among the organisations that publicly criticised the verdict against Ruben Vardanyan was Amnesty International, the London-headquartered human rights organisation. In an official statement, it described the 20-year prison sentence handed down by a military court in Baku as nothing short of a travesty, citing concerns over due process and the fairness of the proceedings. Yet legal advocacy was not the only channel through which the issue gained visibility in the United Kingdom. Archbishop Justin Welby, the former Archbishop of Canterbury and senior cleric of the Church of England, who resigned over child abuse scandal in 2024, maintained long-standing ties with the Armenian Apostolic Church during a period of visible tension between the Church and Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's government over post-war decisions and national identity. Welby publicly voiced concern over the protection of Armenian cultural and religious heritage in Karabakh. In that context, expressions of solidarity from a senior British religious figure carried clear political resonance.
Ruben Vardanyan in Nagorno-Karabakh, welcome to Hard Talk.
The case of Ruben Vardanyan also received significant coverage from the BBC, addressing his arrest and sentencing. The coverage focused primarily on concerns raised by his lawyers and supporters regarding due process, access to legal representation, and the transparency of the military court proceedings in Baku, while providing limited detail on the specific charges brought against him, the allegations concerning his activities during his time in Karabakh, the state-appointed legal counsel made available to him, or the officially reported conditions of his detention. The style and narrative framing adopted by the BBC in this coverage closely resemble patterns frequently associated with Russian propaganda media. It is also notable that in April 2025, the all-party parliamentary group on Armenia issued an official letter condemning the detention and trial of Armenian prisoners in Baku, including Ruben Vardanyan, and calling on the UK government to apply diplomatic pressure on Azerbaijan. As part of this investigation, AnewZ sent formal requests for comment to all members involved in the Nagorno-Karabakh inquiry, as well as to the British ambassador to Azerbaijan. While no direct responses were received from the inquiry members, a statement was subsequently published on the official social media account of the British Embassy in Baku. The statement clarified that the embassy represents His Majesty's government and does not speak on behalf of the UK Parliament, which is a separate and independent branch of the UK's constitutional system. It further reaffirmed that the UK government recognises Azerbaijan's sovereignty and territorial integrity and supports the ongoing normalisation of relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. However, this statement does not exclude the possibility that certain circles operating within the United Kingdom, aligned with Vardanyan's supporters, are acting independently to shape and advance the narrative surrounding his case. This broader pattern becomes clearer when examining the individuals whose public interventions have amplified the campaign. In this context, additional names stand out,
including in them Ruben Vardanyan, my close friend and colleague,
Nubar Afeyan, an Armenian-American entrepreneur and biotech investor, co-founder of Moderna, and founder of Flagship Pioneering, has become one of the most prominent international voices defending Vardanyan. He has long been active in Armenian diaspora initiatives, including co-founding the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative alongside Vardanyan. Another supporter, Luis Moreno Ocampo, an Argentine lawyer and former prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, has also spoken publicly about developments in and around Nagorno-Karabakh, including the case of Ruben Vardanyan.
Armenian diaspora is unique. It's unique. For me, it's great to have the Armenian community to work with.
He criticized elements of the legal process following Vardanyan's detention and sentencing, questioned aspects of the international response, and framed the issue within broader debates on international criminal law and accountability. Communications efforts linked to Vardanyan have reportedly involved Stéphane Fuchs, a senior Havas executive and prominent French PR strategist, awarded the Légion d'honneur. He has advised political leaders and ministers in France and abroad during major political and legal crises, managing public strategy amid reputational turmoil. His involvement underscores the scale and professional coordination behind the campaigns surrounding Vardanyan's case. Communications efforts linked to Vardanyan have also involved the international PR firm Edelman. The company has previously worked on high-profile political and advocacy campaigns, and has been associated in reporting with initiatives amplifying Armenian narratives on Karabakh in Western capitals. After examining the available facts, a consistent pattern emerges. Networks supporting Ruben Vardanyan, active in Russia, the United Kingdom and elsewhere, appear to be pursuing two connected goals: complicating the fragile peace process between Armenia and Azerbaijan by internationalizing legal disputes, and influencing Armenia's domestic political landscape ahead of the June 2026 parliamentary elections. The 2026 vote is widely viewed as a referendum on Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's future and on Armenia's post-Karabakh foreign policy course, including normalization with Azerbaijan. Vardanyan's arrival in Karabakh in 2022 was widely seen as deliberate rather than accidental. A Russian-Armenian billionaire with long-standing ties in Moscow, he entered the region during heightened geopolitical tension and quickly assumed a senior role within the separatist administration. All indications point to the conclusion that his appearance was not coincidental, but Moscow-backed, widely interpreted as an attempt to slow the post-war settlement, preserve leverage over Armenia's political trajectory, and potentially position him as a future alternative to Pashinyan. If London represents one channel of pressure, Switzerland represents another. In late 2024, a motion was introduced in the Swiss parliament calling for the establishment of what was described as a peace forum mechanism focused on enabling the return of Armenians to Karabakh. By early 2025, the proposal advanced through parliamentary procedures, including committee-level discussions. Formally, the initiative is framed in humanitarian terms, yet the language surrounding it references to a right of return, a humanitarian crisis, and political prisoners closely aligns with formulations that have circulated in international advocacy campaigns since Azerbaijan restored control over Karabakh in 2023. Several Swiss parliamentarians have taken visible roles in advancing the initiative. Their engagement has extended beyond Bern. Discussions linked to Karabakh have surfaced within Geneva's multilateral environment, including forums connected to the United Nations system. Switzerland's position as host to major international institutions gives such initiatives amplified diplomatic visibility. What begins as a domestic parliamentary proposal can quickly enter broader international discourse. Parallel to parliamentary activity, Switzerland-based civil society actors have framed developments in Karabakh through cultural and religious lenses. In some cases, narratives emphasizing the protection of Christian heritage have been placed at the center of the discussion, adding a civilizational dimension to a dispute rooted in sovereignty and post-conflict settlement. Switzerland was also involved in an earlier case concerning Azerbaijani activist Emin Huseynov. In 2014, Huseynov was accused of tax evasion. After learning that a search was being carried out at the Baku office of the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety, the organization he led, he went into hiding. According to public reports at the time, Huseynov stayed inside the Swiss embassy in Baku for about 10 months. He later left Azerbaijan. Swiss media outlet Tagesanzeiger reported that he departed accompanied by then Swiss Foreign Minister Didier Burkhalter. The same reporting said that around 200,000 Azerbaijani manates in alleged unpaid taxes were covered as part of a broader arrangement. These claims were later cited in Azerbaijani media and political commentary. They raise questions about the legal and financial basis for such a payment, if it was made. As part of its inquiry into these matters, AnewZ sent a formal request for clarification to the Embassy of Switzerland in Baku regarding publicly available reports suggesting that approximately 200,000 manats may have been dispersed in connection with Emin Huseynov. The embassy confirmed receipt of the inquiry and indicated that a response would follow. At the time of publication, no substantive clarification regarding the reported allocation had been provided. Individually, none of these elements, parliamentary debate, NGO advocacy, diaspora engagement, or financial inquiries, are unusual within democratic systems. The significance lies in convergence. At a moment when Armenia and Azerbaijan are engaged in delicate normalization talks, the Swiss track introduces a parallel process, one that internationalizes sensitive issues and reframes them in legal, humanitarian, and institutional terms. In fragile post-conflict environments, such reframing does not remain rhetorical. It shapes perception, influences policy debate, and can alter the political space in which negotiations unfold.